Level up your success with the ICABA World Network, where accomplished Black professionals and entrepreneurs have created a thriving global ecosystem built from valuable connections and impactful collaborations. Be a part of a trusted network that uplifts, inspires, and enhances your success. Join like-minded and leading Black professionals to foster meaningful relationships, unlock opportunities, and access the resources you need to thrive in your career, business, and life. Go to ICABAWorldNetwork.com and join today.
So I am going to now introduce you to our speakers. And our first speaker is Dwight Elliott, Chief Knowledge Officer for, and Dwight, pronounce the name of your company for me, please, so I don't screw it up.
It is Sabaduriax.
Sabaduriax, Inc.
Yeah.
All right. And he is the Chief Knowledge Officer of Sabaduriax, and it is a global consulting firm focused on cybersecurity and internet law and digital business entrepreneurship. He is also a professor of law, technology, and business within the academic industry, preparing the education sector for success in the ever-transformative environment of online education. Professor Elliott has served numerous universities in the academic sector over the last 20-plus years and has an extensive business development background in the IT, telecommunications, and cybersecurity arena. He has also served in various roles with academia, including campus dean, course and curriculum developer, and faculty mentor. Professor Elliott is a dedicated member of the Jamaica diaspora movement and has participated in JA diaspora development activities for the last 10 years. He was a presenter at the Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference 2017 in Kingston, Jamaica, on the topic of ICT, digitization, and the future of work. And every must work in the digital area. So that's patois, I'm sure.
Yeah, every party must work.
Everybody must work. All right, in the digital era. Gotcha. And so his co-panelist is Armando Say, who is a senior cybersecurity and technology, is a senior security and technology executive, and it is a active holder of the Department of Defense and Intelligence Community clearances, and is an accomplished information technology and cybersecurity executive leader. He brings decades of hands-on technical program management of small and large business growth experience. Renowned for leading marketing efforts that spearheaded growth initiatives, he is also known for his award-winning and nationally recognized cybersecurity solutions and initiatives designed to foster deep understanding of critical cybersecurity topics and challenges. Armando is known for his expert knowledge in cybersecurity compliance, NIST, ISO, and CMMC. And if you know what those initials stand for, you can probably move to the front of the class. Armando is also known for successful management of IT and cybersecurity projects ranging from 1 million to 500 million. I'm sure we're going to learn what NIST, ISO, and CMMC mean before this is all over. Armando has consistently demonstrated his aptitude in corporate leadership, robust collaboration, superior communication, and the adeptness to innovate and drive strategic transformations within large organizations and early stage, I think that might be early stage corporations. His engagements with the U.S. Cyber Command, NSA, and other agencies such as the CIA, major corporations, and for emerging small businesses showcase his paramount role in the U.S. Armando is an ISC2 certified cybersecurity professional. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our two speakers who are going to kick us off this evening. Armando Say, and he will be preceded by Dwight Elliott, who is up first, and then he will be followed by Armando. So, are you ready, Professor?
Yes, sir.
Elliott? Okay. So
yes,
I have stopped sharing my screen. You have the floor, and it's all yours.
Can everybody see my PowerPoint?
You sure can.
Okay, very good. All right, thanks a lot, ICABA, and Hutch for allowing me the opportunity to present tonight, and I'm happy to share the floor with Armando after speaking with him briefly I just think it's a great flow in terms of how I'm going to start off, and then he'll definitely take it to another level for you. I always want to start off with this quote. I'm going to first focus on one of the challenges that we're dealing with is how do we build up a really strong positive digital footprint versus which will end up help us grow our business versus a digital footprint that might be negative, that will deter or distract from our business goals, right? And so how can we avoid some of the digital dangers in terms of online practices that we're engaging in, laws that we might or might not know of that might get in the way of what we're trying to do and success in business. But I saw this quote that says a computer lets you make more mistakes faster than any invention in human history, with the possible exceptions of handguns and tequila. So that triggered my thoughts to say, yes, right now in the digital universe where there's so much business opportunity that you can grow in the digital space, we have to first understand the digital footprints that we're dealing with. So what are we looking at? The intersectionality of e-commerce and cybersecurity. What type of vision do we have for our future, which we will get at in a few seconds, that we in an earlier stage in our business career and in our business life cycle, we have to make sure that we make smart and wise decisions due to the fact that some of the things we do online are going to be permanent and will track us for the rest of our lives and our business career. So how do we take a look at the lens between uh, the blurred lines of public life versus private life that is now interconnected? Uh, is people are losing their jobs and careers sometimes by what they're doing online, and losing business opportunity, sometimes known to them or not known to them. Whether you're an employee or whether you're an entrepreneur, even when you go to get contract opportunity, is someone searching your background and taking a look at what you're doing online. The key is we want to build our financial empire, but at the same time, deal with the fact that we want to protect it in this digital space. If the time allows, I'll probably get in some areas of emerging cyber threats like social engineering, disinformation and misinformation, cyber crimes and cyber operations, and some basic cyber hygiene, as well as use Florida statute as an example. So, I'm one of those people. I've been out of pocket for a while because I saw many years ago, I went to Syracuse University, and everyone who knows me, I was always, the internet was, hey, Dwight told you that the internet was coming, and Dwight told you online education was coming, cybersecurity was coming, and we're here now. So the question we're asking is, what is your digital footprint? What type of digital citizen are you? And ultimately, what type of digital legacy do you want to leave?
Hey, Dwight,
So
let me forgive me for jumping in. Can you put this on presenter view? Because some of the print is a little small, and I know to get
it's a
bigger
little small.
if you put it in
Okay, there
presenter
we
view.
go, right there. Can you see
Yeah,
that?
there you
Better,
go.
better.
Yeah, yeah.
So perfect timing, Hutch. So what is your digital footprint, right? Think of it as every click you made, every site you visited, every image you posted, every social media post you published, every email you sent, anything you shared online, or information about you that others posted on the internet, that is your digital footprint. The more information we disclose outside of our trust circle, the more likely it is to land in the wrong hands. So we have to ask our questions, do we have a problem with that? Maybe we might not have a problem with that personally, but in terms of your business and entrepreneurship goals, how is that impacting you? So one, when you search and interact online, 10 things to know about digital footprints. Two, elements of your digital footprints can be searched or shared. Three, digital footprints can be helpful or harmful to your reputation, both now and in the future. Once online, things can what? Exist what? Forever, even if it's deleted. So always think before you post online. Has anyone here actually Googled themselves lately to take a look at what you find out about yourself? older inactive accounts should be disabled or deleted. So we have to be more proactive about getting rid of old information. Keep personal details private and control the privacy settings on your account. Be mindful of the digital footprint of others. Ask before tagging photos, because now you're associated with other people. If someone looks at me, check. There we go. So the journey, just quickly, you want to succeed as a business and you don't want a negative digital footprint to get in the way. You want to make sure you maximize your resources and time. You want to make sure you have business alliances and partnership, overcoming challenges and creating opportunities. All of this is affected by your digital footprint. But there's a distinction, active versus passive digital footprint. What does that look like? Active, let's look at the passive. Unknowingly, you left something behind. You suddenly collected something. You can't control what data is gathered. Examples will be browsing history, device information, network data. Active digital footprint will be intentionally what you sharing online. Posting images. Do you really want that type of information out there? And do you want to having that conversation with someone about that instead of a conversation about your business? You can control what you share. You can contribute to your online reputation. Examples, your email address, your social media posts. Be cognizant of aware of what you're doing with that. Let's break it down a little bit further. Online shopping, digital footprint, social media footprint. Everybody can see the graph here. This is how you segment exactly the different elements of your footprint. I don't know if anyone here remember when someone first asked you to share your credit card information online. And you were like, you crazy? No way. I'm not going to do that. Now we just leave it and say, would you like to have my card? And, and have no problem with it. So when you shop, do you want to leave that information? Maybe we have no choice, right? So one of the things because one of the things I really want people to think about, food for thought, because everybody has a different background, have different values, different focus. Think about what your morals and your values are, because that will decide how you're going to be represented online. Your public versus private. Should I have public versus private life? And what are the consequences? This is something later on when we have a conversation, you can tell me, do you think there is a distinction and there's a difference, or does it matter? Who should I communicate to about what, when, where, and how? And what are the consequences of doing so or not doing so? Should we have conversations that we used to have in private, in public now? How is that? Should we please the crowd? Are we able to do that? Our history and our culture, what will your legacy look like based on your digital footprint that you created? I want to make sure. Yes. Your business brand. How does my actions affect my digital footprint? What is riches and how much is enough? Is it worth the other riches in my life? In terms of how you're gonna, the networks you're building, like, Hutch like to say your network is your net worth. Okay. Sometimes it's more important to not do certain things that online that will affect your business and your network. Sustainable. Are my actions sustainable long term? For some people, they're doing things that might be nefarious. It might make money quickly online, but in the long term, is it sustainable? So what is the big challenge here? The main issue is whatever happens with our digital footprint, it's permanent. And I really want you all to think about how in the past, I don't remember if anybody remember the song, it wasn't me, right? You make a mistake, you said it's not me. But now you can't say that anymore, right? Because people, once you choose a pathway, once you leave that data online, you're on that pathway in a negative, you're taking a negative pathway in business or a positive track. So first, how do you preserve your digital footprint? Because the ultimate goal is global entrepreneurship, right, and making money, right, and also, but in a legal, ethical way that protects your identity. First, always think long term before posting. Always think long term before posting or texting, or texting. Because remember, especially in the court of law nowadays, you know, what you even have on the phone, that could be evidence that could be used against you, that they could be discoverable. Second, use your privacy settings on your social networking pages. Third, keep personal information private. Fourth, protect your privacy and the privacy of your friends. Fifth, and apply these golden rules. Now, I'm going to go into, because I really want to give you these this best practices here at the end. So let me look at information out. I'm going to switch gears real quickly because I think we got through digital footprint in time. I'm doing time, maybe 10 more minutes, 5. Let's take a quick look at information. Okay, perfect. Information operation. And the reason why I put this graph this way about information operation is the less knowledge you have about information, really, we say, some people say information warfare or information operation, is the more you're going to be running into legal problems, and you're going to be, you will consult your lawyer. So we're going to just try to quickly look at what is social engineering, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation that could be affecting your career and your business, and understand what those things are in advance so you avoid, so you could be clear on it. And just quickly look at some House bills in Florida that deals with of cybersecurity. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to just take it down for a second, Hutch. Cybercrime. What exactly is cybercrime? Any criminal activity that involves a computer, network device, or network, of course, and of course. So let's talk about misinformation. Misinformation, let me just explain it real quick, is false but not created nor shared with the intention of causing harm. Now, if you're online, you notice a lot of days nowadays, someone could say something about you or your business, even if it's not true. Even if it's not true, the damage has been done. You pretty much tried in a court of public opinion, and it's gone. So these are some of the ways in terms of cyber operations that's affecting you. Disinformation is somebody deliberately created a misleading or cause harm, or manipulated a person or social group or organization or country with intentional disinformation. So you have to be aware of that. What does that come with? I really, forgive me, there's a professor in me, I like to define things. This is all part of social engineering. So when you operate in cyberspace right now, there is a lot of risk in terms of, I watched, I think is Grant did such a fantastic job with the LinkedIn presentation, and how diligent he was about creating a certain image. Now more than ever, you need that, because the use of, think of what social engineering really is. Centralized planning in an attempt to manage social change and regulate the future development and behavior of a society. So where you used to do something yesterday, you might not be doing that anymore. But the way you're doing business now and communicating, yes, it might be lucrative in some ways, but what are the risks and how much information you're sharing? You know, remember when we grew up, they used to say there was a what? A time and a what? A place for everything under the sun. So in the context of information security, use of deception to manipulate individuals. Think about this definition clearly. Into divulging what? Confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. That's social engineering, which leads, of course, to the issue down the road we'll talk about of ransomware. Okay? So you have to be cognizant of aware when you're making a move online or you're doing something, am I giving away my privacy and my data? And is somebody basically convincing me to do this? And do I really want to do that? And what are the risks? So let's look at it right now. We talk about it. So cybercrime, misinformation. They said nowadays society is so connected, and there's so many vectors of communication, including your everybody's favorite social media. It's easier and easier to fall for misinformation and disinformation. Much easier. So those of us who are really well studied, this we could catch it more easily. But what about the employee that works for you and your company? What type of training you have for them on this type of information that, they might be, I give you one quick example. Last month, I just heard a young lady went to work. She was so excited to get a job with this engineering company, high-tech engineering company. She gets to work, and of course, they use social media, like, they have to take pictures of the moment, and she's excited. She goes to the job, she takes pictures of herself all throughout the facility. She's like, this is amazing. I'm finally getting this job at this company. And they said, ma'am, you never asked. That's against our policy. You can't do that. And she's like, but I'm so happy to have the job. They actually fired her because in her mind, this is, I'm excited to be in the moment. I got to take pictures. That's what we do now. So the culture is changing, but at the same time, you got to protect the organization and protect the business. Let me mention real quick, information operation. What is that? These are different types of cyber operations. Real quick, cognition shaping, much of which happens in what? In cyberspace. Intelligence operation, somebody's gathering important information and analyzing it. Much information gathering happens in cyberspace. Armando will tell you later about how even the way your car, everything you do, all these fancy electronic cars, all of that information about you and your movement is being gathered. So, but I have another angle, from an academic angle, when it talks about information operation. Let me pull this up. Cognition shaping. I notice part of my job is to prepare students to work for you into your organizations. And I noticed, whether it might be conversations about Googling and maybe leaning on AI technology, and I said, hey, if you have an extremely intelligent person with these fancy technological tools, they're much more richer. But the individuals that are not at that stage, who are we trying to prepare and get them educated to be a valuable employee one day, they still are ignoring the tradition. They're now ignoring the traditional forms of learning sometimes because they're not preparing their minds because they think that Googling might get the job done. So this is one of some of the risks of the technology. And you start checking people's brain and say, hey, do you remember who the president was in 1965? Do you remember what, who were the architects behind the Civil Rights Act of 1964? They remember, and they cannot tell you. Oh, I have to Google that, right? So that's a big deal. So can that person define, duplicate, list, or memorize information, recall information? If they can't do that, guess what? The next level up, they don't understand it. So that means they're not able to classify, describe, discuss, explain, identify, locate. If they don't understand information, guess what we have? They're not able to apply it. So can that person choose, demonstrate, dramatize, employ, illustrate? Next level up. If you can't do that, you can't analyze. So now, when I watched the information the other day with the gentleman who covered the AI technology, did a fantastic presentation. And those gentlemen were operating literally from anywhere from application. Sorry, want to go up. Yes, they're operating from application. Let me go back. There it is. To the point that probably I think in Hudson, the next workshop is like, how can we create some of this stuff? Can we create some of these solutions? But my point being is this: are we preparing our people for the workforce? And how are you going to measure that your employees and your staff is sharp enough to be able to operate in the balance between traditional forms of learning and knowledge accumulation, as well as utilizing modern day technology? Because those are the people that are going to win. today's workforce. So quickly, I mentioned another set of operations. Rick, we're almost there, Hutch.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Okay, so we have fishing, spearfishing, whaling. These are some of the operations that we have. So the point being is this: please be careful what you do. So what are they trying to do when you're taking these type of risks online in the cyber world? They're trying to manipulate you, to control or change your adversary's information, their systems, deny, to degrade or disrupt or destroy access to operation of availability of a target, degrade, disrupt, and destroy. So be careful. These things can happen when you're operating in cyberspace with your company. But guess what? I just want to mention quickly, and Armando can go to even more later, you need to know basic laws such as Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, okay? Which deals with the fact who prevents people from intentionally accessing a computer without authorization in excess of authorization. But so this is a fundamental law that you need to be aware of, Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Other laws you need to be aware of when you're operating in cyberspace: the Federal Trade Communication Act. Okay, this prohibits deceptive acts and practices in business, including those related to data security. If you go on the international level, as those of you who are doing business globally, you need to deal with the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. This is a really big one. I have the website here for you. If I had even more time, I would have gone into it. I just want to mention a few. The issue of ransomware, okay? These are attacks on the rise, with malicious actors becoming bolder and increasingly targeting larger organizations. But guess what? Let me just give you this graph real quick, since I'm running out of time. By country, United States, who has the most ransomware cases? As you can see, the more resources you have, the more attack you have. United States is 46% compared to the rest of the world, okay? But in the state of Florida, for example, and you could check your state, they recently passed an act, just to make you aware, that if someone calls you and says, hey, we got all your information, we got all your data, and you got to pay us, $10 million by next week. What does the law say in the state of Florida? A county or municipality experiencing a ransomware incident may not pay or otherwise comply with a ransom demand. So you cannot do that, okay? What do you have to do? You got to gather the evidence, submit a report, visit the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Computer Crime Center, and you need to report it. And you have within 30 days, you have to if the cyber attack resulted in a data breach, or if you had a data breach for any reason, Florida law requires businesses to report the breach to affected consumers within 30 days. So not only do you have to report it to law enforcement, you also have to let the consumers know. That's the law now in the state of Florida. I just want to mention real quickly, there's different cybersecurity measures and mandates, House Bill 7055 and 7057. You need to remain aware of those. They're trying their best to make sure that Florida has a cybersecurity strategic plan across the state. I mentioned here the Florida Digital Service. They're the organization that is required to carry out that security plan. And I'm doing some training myself right now on that for different municipalities in the state of Florida. So how do you protect yourself against all of this? Cyber hygiene, keep your software updated, antivirus, a virtual private network, use a VPN, pick up your data, create a continuity plan, train your employees, okay? I have a lot more I would like to share on that, but I'm due for time. But the bottom line is this: please make sure that you remain aware of the laws. You remain aware of the things that you're doing online that could put yourself and your business at risk, okay? And attacks are much more frequent. And the more you do, they say follow the money trail, right? Wherever we're doing business, that's where the crime is going to be, it's going to follow. So I have a list, a chart here. Last thing, this is a way that you could measure yourself. 0 to 1 to 5, non-existent, initial, acknowledged, defined, managed, optimal. If somebody was to come to ask you, this is a NIST cybersecurity framework maturity level. If somebody were to ask you in all of these categories, where is your cybersecurity strategic plan today? within your company. And this is a tool that the NIST used to measure your asset management, your governance, your risk management strategy, your supply chain risk management, identity management, awareness and training of employees, data security. I just did every time I do this presentation, I ask companies, some people are truly honest. I'm at level 1 right now. I'm at the initial stage. Some people at best, sometimes they're at level 3. So I leave it at that for now. And if we had more time at the end, we have a list of 10 cybersecurity defense practices for non-technical users, as well as one for those of you who are more technical. I also have another list for you as well. But I'll leave the floor open now to Armando. I think you at a time and warmed up. I would love to discuss this even more because there's so much more going on in cyberspace. So many laws at the state level, at the national level, and the international level that is regulating our online activities and our online behaviors. Thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you, Dwight. And so I want to right now remind everybody that we are you're not really trying to give you and Dwight, let you go ahead and pull your PowerPoint down. We're not trying to give you everything to know about the rewards and risks from technology tonight, because we would be here until sometime next week. But our objective is to make sure that you walk away with 2 or 3 things that you did not know before, that you need to know about the risk associated with technology as it relates to your business, things that you need to know to safeguard your business. Also, as it relates to the rewards, or our rewards through automation and other digital marketing strategies and tactics that you can deploy in your business to drive new revenue and increase revenue from existing sources. But the other thing is, beyond getting these 2 or 3 takeaways that you'll get tonight, is that you now have been introduced to individuals. And we're doing B2B, or I should say B on B, Black on Black business opportunities for us to recognize that there are people in the marketplace through ICABA that you can connect with who have the expertise and the knowledge and the skills and experience to help you in a wide variety of opportunities in your business. So if you need, some more help with cybersecurity, then obviously you can follow up with Dwight. You can also follow up with Armando. I want to we have 4 speakers tonight. And I ask that each one of you put your contact information in the chat so that if someone wants to follow up with you, they'll be able to do that. So ladies and gentlemen, it is now, and Dwight, I know you mentioned the Lewis Marino. I mean,
I know Lewis, didn't get time to slide him in. But Lewis is he's one of our cybersecurity consultants at the company. But they will hear from him in the future because we speak all the time together.
All right. So Armando, it is all yours, sir. And I will spotlight your screen and go right ahead. You have to unmute, Armando.
Yeah, let me do that. There we go. Hey, good evening, everyone. Happy to be joining you guys. So my name is Armando Say, as Jerome has said. I started out in information technology at age 18. Tell you straight up front, I didn't graduate from college. I'm a bit of a polymath. I've taught myself outside of what I learned at my vocational technical school, everything I know about computers and cybersecurity in the over 27 some odd years plus that I've been in the information technology and cybersecurity industry. Today, as Jerome mentioned, I am I've also serial entrepreneur, started a number of companies, bought a number of companies and consolidated them. These are typically small minority-owned businesses. So the business that my wife and I started was also a minority-owned business. We made it a woman-owned business, and we serviced the Department of Defense, civilian agencies, and state, and local, and commercial customers. At the time we sold the company, we had about 200 employees worldwide, literally Germany and Japan and a lot of different countries. So I've been very, very fortunate. Subsequent to that, just giving you my entrepreneur background, because we're going to talk about cyber from an entrepreneur perspective. I want to give you a little bit of my bona fides. Bought a couple companies, sad stories, minority businesses, and we can talk about why we bought those companies and why those companies were up for sale. And these were typically husband and wife teams, so they were always broke my heart, but they were opportunities that my wife saw and I to grow our business and grow our footprint in terms of what we were doing. based on the unfortunate circumstances of another small minority-owned business. But I think they were happy for us to write the check when we bought them. They were all very happy that they found a buyer, and there was another minority business that was acquiring them. Subsequent to the creation and the exit of my first company, it was called RTGX. I took a bit of a break and then started a non-for-profit that I grew from zero to about $150 million in less than 5 years. It was a 501c4 that did cybersecurity and innovation, and that was done under the auspices of the United States Cyber Command, which is the combatant command of the United States government. That is the cyber warfighting machine for the U.S. government. So they don't fight cyber battles on U.S. turf unless they're called by the FBI or the president or the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, one of the things that we're going to talk about today. They fight the adversary overseas. They try to take them out before they come and try to take your business out, or the infrastructure that supports the businesses that we rely on, whether they be aviation, rail, maritime ports, the internet, cloud, that type of infrastructure. That's what U.S. Cyber Command is composed of. All the different military forces that have a cyber. So Air Force cyber is called AV cyber, Navy cyber is called NAV cyber, Army cyber is R cyber. So you get the picture. They roll them all up under the leadership of one 4-star general, and he leads the best and brightest in cyber to tackle the biggest threat actors. Exited and was able to sell the non-for-profit, because you can't sell a non-for-profit, but transitioned it to a new board of directors and that kind of stuff. It was almost like an acquisition. So my old organization doesn't exist anymore. And currently, I'm starting up a new venture, slowly but surely, acting as an advisor to a number of small companies, and then currently serving the U.S. intelligence community. Typically, I'm not allowed to say exactly, but I'll use if you're familiar with cybersecurity and technology, there's something called the triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA. But as I like to say, I'm currently, helping a certain interesting agency with their cybersecurity challenges. And it's very fascinating to be on the forefront of a legendary 3-letter agency and seeing some of the, like I tell people, I go in every morning and I can see how the world could end tomorrow. And also could see how our government and our nation would try not to try to have control about the way it ends, if it's going to end, and then how we may stop it from ending at all. So imagine going to work every morning and sitting in front of a computer that's got every possible bad thing that could happen, from a cyber, from nuclear, from war, from terrorism coming at you, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's my background. And so I am going to share my screen. So, and I'm going to try to get through some stuff. Let me try to get to these slides. Here we go. Share, hold, shift to slide multiple. Well, no, I just want to share one window, and hopefully I got the right one. And then we'll do the slide view there. Do we got that? Did we get that going? Okay, perfect. All right. So we talked a little about me. The logos that you're seeing, Doves Tech is a woman-owned company. Actually, it's a company that I started, but I transitioned over to my wife when you work with 3-letter agencies like I do, they don't want you to own anything or have anything that could be a conflict of interest. If I were the president, it would be a different story, but we won't get into politics. I could have all the conflicts in the world. Maverick is, Doves Tech is based in Florida, Hallandale Beach, Florida, and Maverick is another venture. It's actually my son's venture. He's based in Hallandale Beach, Florida as well. So both companies are based in Florida, and they're both doing business with Florida entities. My son is helping a $2 billion company, I won't name the company, as a virtual cybersecurity third-party risk provider. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, because as small businesses, as entrepreneurs, you are a third-party risk to a multi-billion-dollar company. And in today's world, if you're not tight about your cyber hygiene, as Dwight was mentioning, you're going to have a problem getting business. But also, like a lot of entrepreneurs, you grow your business to take it public, in the process, or selling it, whether you don't go to the public markets, but you actually sell your business. That requires due diligence. Having sold multiple businesses, the due diligence process is very digital today. And it will probably be driven, or is driven today, by even generative AI. All the documents that run your business will probably go into a large language model that will take your contracts, your financials, and any information that's available in the public domain, and all your official registrations, and process them and tell the business broker or and the lawyers that are representing the buyer everything about your business up to a certain point, and it helps them accelerate a risk and evaluation of your business. So we're going to start there. Cybersecurity, while we can talk about all the technical bells and whistles, it's fundamental to your business. I'll give you one example. My son and I, he has a managed cybersecurity company. Basically, he manages the cybersecurity for small, medium, and large businesses. And we have a client in the Clearwater area, a manufacturer. What was a woman-owned business at the time. We were helping them with their cyber resilience, monitoring their networks, monitoring their cell phones, wireless networks, and advising them of threats that we were seeing, helping them mitigate the threats, right? We didn't know, because you're not allowed to disclose, you sign a non-disclosure when you're about to sell your business, that they were selling the business. The CEO, which was a woman, was selling the business. So we didn't know anything. We were blind to that. We were continuing to do the services that we were, keeping them safe from constant influx of cyber attacks against their financials, against their manufacturing operations, against their employees, and even protecting them from their employees. In cybersecurity, the human is always the weakest link. It's the most dangerous thing in the world of business or relationships is the human. Technology just aids the human in doing the mistake if they're witting, or rather unwitting. And if they're witting, it helps accelerate the deed that they're going to do against your business. So I'm going to give you two examples, and then I'm going to go into the presentation. So this small business was in the process of being acquired. We got a phone call from the CFO saying, "Oh my God, they're in the middle of due diligence." "Oh, what you mean you're selling the business?" "Yes, I need your help." "What do you need?" They have a checklist, and there's a bunch of people walking around. They need to see that we have an active cyber resilience and compliance program. And I'm not technical. The CEO is not technical. That's what we hired you guys for. Can you help us respond to the lawyers and the financial folks that are crawling, and the accountants that are crawling all over our business, because they're trying to assess what risk we present to this larger company that's buying this medium-sized small business out of the Clearwater, Florida area. Otherwise, this deal is not going to go down. Well, fortunate, the services that we were providing allowed us and this business to be able to produce a number of documents and evidence to show that they were constantly being monitored for cyber threats, that they were in the process of becoming compliant with a number of cybersecurity regulations, and they were not completely ignorant. And the fact that their networks and their operations, in terms of computer and their manufacturing systems, were all being monitored and constantly assessed for risk. They called us later after they broke the bottle of champagne and had a party, and they thanked my son and I for being there to help them answer a question that they were not aware could have kept them from being bought. They were in the aerospace industry in that Clearwater, Tampa, Orlando area. There's some large multi-billion-dollar corporations in aerospace like Lockheed and the Joint Strike Fighter program and space program and those kinds of things. They manufactured components for those things. And this was the exit. This was a business that this woman and her partners had worked their entire lives to build. And this was the money shot. This was the lotto ticket. They were cashing in. I know that feeling. There's nothing like a bunch of money being wired to your account after you exit your business. But the process of that money hitting your account, and from the beginning of your business, that space in between is where all the danger lies. And cybersecurity is now an added danger. It's reputational damage, it's financial damage, and it's legal liability. So in cyber, you'll hear those things talked about. What are the typical risks to a business? Take you out of business, ruin your reputation, which will take you out of your business, and then legal liability, depending on how your customers feel and what regulations that you have to comply with. I'm going to tell you, as entrepreneurs, you will have to comply with some degree of cyber regulations, either from the state, as Dwight was telling you, even though that was more of the state government itself. But I can tell you that the federal government is imposing reporting regulations on businesses of certain sizes. So that's one area where you'll have to comply with. And when you're reading your supplier agreements, when you get that contract with a large business, 9 times out of 10, and at some point, at this point, it's going to be 100%. They're going to ask you something about cyber. I told you that my son is currently the third-party supply chain cybersecurity risk consultant for a large $2 billion company in the Delray area. The reason he's there and the reason he has his job is that they will not do business. This multi-billion-dollar will not sign you up as a supplier if you are not a safe cybersecurity risk. So in addition to reputation, in addition to financial, good, service and product, they want to know that doing business with you is not going to make them subject to a ransomware attack, data exfiltration, meaning the proprietary data that they possess goes out to the internet, to their competitors or to an adversary, or it gets them in trouble with federal regulators or their customers. There's a principle in the business community when it comes to cyber. It's called flow down. I always counsel business, if you're not good at contracts, get somebody that's good at reading the fine print. So meaning I'm a medium-sized business and one of my customers is a large business. They give me a supplier agreement and it says, here are the things that you have to comply with. And here are the cyber regulations or policies that we need you to comply with. We need you to sign here, but we're also going to enforce on you as a business, as our business, that anybody that you buy product from or that you contract with, you're going to flow these requirements down, meaning you are not to do business with somebody that you are going to use as a supplier that supplies you so that you can build a product for me or a service unless they meet the same criteria that I've given you. If you fail to do that, our business relationship is never going to get started, or it's going to end immediately, or it's going to end in litigation because you did not comply with the flow down provisions. And the flow down provisions mean you signed a contract, and when you sign a contract between you and your supplier, you flow those terms and you get them to sign on to those same agreements. So that's the sort of the overarching risk. So we talked about selling your business in the process where cyber comes in, and in the creation of your business and as you're managing your business's growth and your expansion, cyber is going to be consistently an issue you're going to run into. For businesses that want to engage with the United States federal government, you're definitely going to face it. And even if you're not supplying directly to the federal government, but you're supplying a Lockheed Martin or a Northrop Grumman or a Boeing, even they've been in the news quite a bit these days, or any other company that does business with the federal government, they're going to flow down their provisions. The federal government has a number of institutionalized regulations. There's something called 800-171, which is it's based on a standard from the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, NIST, as Dwight was saying. That is the protection of controlled unclassified information. And I'm not going to give you all the regulations and all. There's about 3 or 4 of them. The one I just mentioned, the 800-171 controlled unclassified, also known as CUI, is the acronym for it, requires the federal government to flow down to its suppliers and those suppliers to flow it down to their subcontractors, small, large, whatever size they are, that they have a certain level of cyber hygiene. It has 3 levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 has 17 cybersecurity controls that are typically aimed at a small business that they have to assert under penalty of the law, something called the False Claim Act, FCA, that they are compliant with. So they're saying, hold up your hand. I'm not going to inspect anything, but you're going to sign and you're going to upload something that you're compliant with these 17 cybersecurity controls. Otherwise, we're not doing business with you. If you're a bigger business or you want to get bigger contracts, there's level 2, and level 2 has a lot more controls that you have to comply with. I want to say, I forget the exact number. There's so many of them. There's some that have 1,000. There's some that have like over 100. I forget what the current CUI number is, maybe 200 controls. It's a little bit more robust. And then there's level 3, which is typically aimed at large businesses that the government deals with. And that has a lot more cybersecurity controls. The controls are the things that you have to do and have to attestate to that you're compliant with. Once you, and they, at level 3 and at level 2, they invite a third-party assessor to come audit your company. So at level 2 and level 3, it ain't, I swear I'm good. An independent person that you have to pay says they are good and I certify that they're good. Once you get that attestation, it's good for 3 years. Okay. And then for 3 years, they don't come back out and check. At level 1, it's I swear I'm good. But if something happens to your business, you get a cyber attack, a ransomware attack, or data exfiltration, or their data leaks out of your network or your computers or your laptop or your cell phone, and they come knocking on your door and they say, those 17 controls that you saw, can we see the evidence that you were compliant? Let them find out that you are not compliant with that. You will either get fined, you will get disbarred, or they will ask for every penny that was paid to you back. So let's move on. So I just want to give you why cyber is so important. And he mentioned Dwight mentioned GDPR. There's ISO, which is an international standards. There are multiple standards organizations. Europe is ahead of us when it comes to cybersecurity. You don't play with the Brits and don't play with the European Union. Just ask Microsoft and just ask Google and Apple the billion-dollar fines that they've had for not protecting the data that's entrusted to them. So I'm going to move. So managing risk in your business. I always use this example. This is a hotel room, obviously, and it's a hotel safe. And this may sound crude, but it's the most basic way I explain to people. When you go to a hotel and you got the hotel safe, do you put your underwear or your toothbrush, your toothpaste, or your makeup in the safe? No, of course not. You put the things that are the most valuable things that you brought to that hotel room with you that you don't want to lose when you're not in that room. Your passport, maybe your jewelry, maybe some money, whatever, right? Yeah, I wouldn't recommend putting money in the safe. Those safes can be opened by the hotel security team, but they're there to protect you. And there's a lot of policies and good hotels that don't allow them to open those safes. But you put the things that are most valuable. In your business, from the beginning to the middle to the end, you always want to protect the things that are the most valuable. What are the things that could take you out of business? Your customer list, your proprietary, your intellectual property, whether it's patented, trademarked, or not. Okay, the things that is the soul of your business. Okay, the thing that makes your business that thing that people want to buy and do business with. You want to protect that information. You want to protect it from outside threat actors, but you also want to protect it from witting or unwitting threat actors, the people that work for you or the people that do work for you, your accountants, your lawyers, the people that come clean your office, the people who do your websites, the people who design your business cards, the people who, that you pay. You need to protect it from the inside and from the outside. Your own relatives, if they work for you. Like I said, the human is the weakest link. And it's very important that the first thing you do is understand what are the most valuable assets to you. And with most businesses is intellectual property, their customer list, their information, their ability, the things that allow them to do business, their financial systems, their ability to bill and pay. So let me tell you that I've done dozens of cases in the last couple of years where small businesses, you may say, I'm just a one-person company, they ain't coming after me. Believe me, they coming after you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I guarantee you that for sure. And you want to be prepared for that moment so that you can recover from that or minimize the impact. There's no such thing as a perfect solution. No one has a silver bullet from a cyber incident that could take you out of business. But my son and I got from a business in the Midwest that we were consulting with, and then we had stopped. We were helping them with their cyber resilience and compliance. And I think we were helping them with policies and stuff, but they ended up with a ransomware attack. Someone clicked on something and all of their drives locked up. They had cyber insurance, and we probably don't have enough time to get into that and how that works. That's called risk transference. When you get a third party to take on some of your risk, obviously they have to agree to take on that risk. And believe me, cyber insurance companies will not take you on as a risk if you aren't cyber resilient and you aren't doing basic things, because that's like giving away money, right? So protect the things that and one of the basic ways you can do it is to lock it up. Encrypt it, use multi-factor authentication, have an offsite backup. The concept of ransomware, which Dwight mentioned, is really simple. And today it's morphing. It's still the largest threat vector in the entire world. And you can't just call the FBI. I do lectures with the FBI and the Secret Service and the Treasury Department of the FBI and U.S. Cyber Command and Defense Cyber Crime Center. They don't have enough people to take, Betty's and Bobby's and Jerome's business and respond to every issue on the planet from businesses across the country. They just don't. And particularly when it comes to ransomware. Ransomware works in two ways. One, the keys are available and you have a chance of decrypting the data that's been encrypted so that you can't use it, okay? Or the keys aren't available, okay? And even if you pay the ransom, you're not gonna be able to decrypt your data. So what I tell people is if you encrypt your data, so look at this picture of a safe. If I put my information in a safe, it's encrypted, okay? And I know the code to my safe, but you don't, and you take my safe and put it inside your safe, what have you done? Okay, you taking my data, but you can't do anything with it because you don't know the code. You can't decrypt it. The salvation to a ransomware attack is having, there's a rule of three, basically, of the way you back up your data. One of the third rule is an offsite backup. Ransomware works by attacking everything that connects to the network. It proliferates and it operates in seconds to spread itself across the network. The best thing you can do is have the crown jewels of your business, your backup, your information in a repository that you can recover from that's not connected to a network. Ransomware works off a network. So if it gets on the network and your network's not segmented and all these things I won't get into that are technical, it's going to spread throughout every device that connects to the endpoint, which is your computer, your phone, your tablet, or any server on your network, or even your cloud. And we're going to talk about cloud as well. So the concept is lock up the family jewels, know what's valuable, protect what's valuable. You can't protect everything. Protect what's most valuable. None of us have enough money to protect everything. We protect the most valuable things. And you have to know what those things are. And you as the entrepreneur should know what those things are. And also know what your agreements say about your cyber resilience and your cyber compliance requirements, because you don't want that knock on the door, that email that says you owe us money, or we're going to terminate the contract with you because we discovered that you are not compliant. So I want to speed through some of this because Dwight went through some of this. So the current threat landscape is business email compromising, called BEC. That is one of the most prevalent ways they get you. An email comes and you click on something, and a lot of people think it's just it's got to have an attachment or hashtag. No. That's true. It could be an image that's embedded in email. It could be a document that's embedded in email. It could be the link in the email. Okay, there's a lot of ways to embed threats and malware on your phone and on your computer in an email. And there's some things that, because of my work in the intelligence community, and I won't get deep into it, there's some super sophisticated ways. It's the key is study every email, read it twice, read it 3 times, particularly the ones that have a sense of urgency. They're asking about money, list, or to sign into something. An example I'll give you, I worked a case with, I won't name the client, but it was an education entity in another state, not in Florida. I happen to be in Maryland right now, but they sent an email to all the employees right before a payroll period. Hey guys, we have a new payroll provider. We've changed some credentials. Log on to this website that's in this email and just re-log in, okay? So the moral to the story was that saved this organization was that they had something called multi-factor authentication. They noticed that it's, for some reason, through this multi-factor, the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, the CISO, Chief Information Security, was notified that all of a sudden all the employees in this company were their payroll accounts, their bank accounts that their payroll was normally going to, was changing. It's like, I can get 5 or 6 or 5% or 2% or 1%. That's normal. But 50, 60%? Of the organization changing the bank accounts. What it was the employees did not pay close attention. The email looked legit, looked like it came from the payroll provider. The website looked legit. Again, they didn't take their time to read. They put in their login credentials and their passwords in this quote unquote new payroll system. And guess what? That's all the threat actor needed. Now I have your login and now I have your password. And they went in and changed and redirected that that this employee's electronic deposit, a direct deposit, go to their account. That was stopped because of multi-factor authentication. The factor was the transaction was not allowed to go through without additional verification. That's the simple aspect of multi-factor authentication. We talked about ransomware. Dwight talked about social engineering. Huge. Even really consummate experts in the field get tricked. You could read the stories out there where they've somehow been tricked to provide information that allows a threat actor to get someone within their company to wire money, or they get access to their bank account. So a lot of bank accounts won't allow you to do wires or your app or your phone. You have to go in person because this is so prevalent. Malicious websites. We all surf the internet on our phone, on our tablets, on our computers. Very easy to get infected on a website, even legit websites that don't have good cyber hygiene when it comes to their websites themselves. Threat actors find ways to insert malicious code. You go to the website, you buy something, you put some information, now it attaches to your browser, your computer, and now you're infected. And then mobile technology, huge threat. In the places that I'm currently engaged, I cannot bring anything that communicates with anything into the building. I can't bring a Fitbit. I saw Jerome had his iWatch on. Can't bring that in. I can't bring a cell phone in. I can't bring any of the Apple devices, the tracking devices, tiles. to the new tennis shoes with the, Bluetooth in it. None of that's allowed. And they have people that are walking around with the tablets with antennas looking for those devices in case you accidentally bring it into the building. Why? Mobile technology is as dangerous as it gets today. We're all doing a lot of things with it. It's a powerful computer and it makes our life simple, but it can make your life hell if you do the wrong thing. Get mobile malware, get a VPN, something that disguises where your phone is actually communicating from. It could say you're in Germany or London. It takes circuitous routes to get to the internet. That's one of the things that does. And then also encrypt your phone and implement multi-factor authentication on your phone. I'm sure a lot of banks are forcing it on people, a lot of financial transactions. So your phone is dangerous. Your phone, there's the Biggie Smalls song. Most of you are probably tap my phone in my cell in the basement. Your phone is telling on you. They don't have to tap it. It just your phone is like a malicious gossiper. Everything you do on that phone is going out. As long as that phone is on, it is talking. The apps are in the background. Hey, he just stopped at Starbucks, or he's here, he's there. Like in the places I go, I have to turn my phone off within a mile of the building. Not to mention that they jam the phone signals anyway once I get behind the gate. Why? Because your phone is telling on you. Your phone is hitting multiple cell towers, and it can even hit fake cell towers. There's a cyber attack that where they'll put up fake cell towers. Your phone will think it's connecting to Verizon or T-Mobile, whatever, and it's not the real T-Mobile. It's China's or Russia's or North Korea's. And guess what? The minute you connect to that tower, anything that's vulnerable on your phone or not protected, they're seeing, and they got you. Same thing at hotels. Starbucks, be careful of connecting to open Wi-Fi. Those are very, very dangerous things. Best to get a hotspot with a VPN and security on it, so that and then last thing I'll say about mobile phones, call it Bobby's iPhone, Jerome's iPhone, Armando's iPhone. What are you doing when you do that? I know your name and I know what you got an iPhone. And if it's broadcasting out, you guys have, put your phone on and you're trying to get on Southwest and you're trying to get on their iPhone. You see all these people, Betty's iPhone, Betty Johnson's iPhone. I now have a ton of information, if I'm a threat actor, about that's your phone and I know your name. And the business is called aggregation, or that's one term, and that's another term, inference. I have enough information to then go hunting for your credentials out on the dark web or whatever. And we're going to talk about the dark web. Your car, telematics. Dwight and I were talking earlier, and I was telling one of the things I've gotten into is telematics. When the president travels, when 4-star generals at the Pentagon, the Secretary of State, the black Suburbans that you see, those cars are ordered with every freaking thing stripped out of them that communicates. They don't play that. That antenna that connects to your navigation system and your satellite radio and your Apple Play and your CarPlay and they rip all that stuff out, because that is a threat vector. Your phone is like a walking or like a driving big microphone. The things that you say in it could potentially be broadcasted out. The things that you communicate within the phone in terms of your phone and your car, obviously you shouldn't be doing and driving, but we connect the Bluetooth to the car. Your car is also telling on you. So now we got your car and we got your cell phone, and they're just chattering with the world. And there's something called pattern of life. I'm trying to speed through some of this. So pattern of life is similar to what Dwight was talking about, a footprint. In my business, they call it digital DNA or pattern of life. I can tell a lot of things about you by the information that's sold about you. There is no such thing as a free lunch or a free app. If it's free, they're selling your information. When you use it, what time you use it, what preferences are, how much money you spent, where you go, it's all being sold. When you buy a plane ticket, you saw the new attempt to regulate air carriers. Like, what are you doing with the information from people who book in airlines? Let me tell you, in my business, in the spy industry, that data is bought from all over the world. And you'd be surprised what the world knows about you that you don't know. Because everything you do on your laptop, your phone, on your Netflix, all that information is being sold. Oh yeah, buy those really new appliances that allow you to tell, hey, your pizza is is ready, your baked chicken is done, your refrigerator is empty, or the filter needs to be changed. Go ahead and sign up to all that. But do it safely. Those devices have something, an unregulated protocol in the Internet of Things world. That's what those things are called. But they're the most unregulated, most non-tracked communications protocols. It's sort of the wild, wild west. In China, even a lot of these things are made in China in some form or other, whether it's the chip or some of the components. They put back doors in these things that speak protocols that aren't even detectable to say, if you connect to that person in the US's cell phone or whatever, send that back to me. We call it phoning home. A lot of devices will phone home, and if they're made in China or one of the adversarial countries, it's sending data about you back to them that they're storing. So we talked about telematics. That's we talked about mobile technologies, artificial intelligence. Dwight talked about that. That's going to change the world. Most of the jobs that we're doing today that cost 5 or 6 people, artificial intelligence is going to replace 3 or 4 of them. It won't replace a human right now, at least not in my lifetime. But it's going to take some humans out because artificial intelligence can do so much. The generative AI can do so much. They can write code. It can write videos. You see the music industry and the creative industry saying, "Oh my God, we got to write this into our new union contracts that you will not replace me with an artificial intelligence engine." So we talked about pattern of life. I said that is all the digital DNA that you put out and you don't even know that you're putting out. Every app on your phone, you should check what it's doing. Most of the apps these days are trying to tell you, this is what I do with your data. I'm telling on you. I'm reporting it. They're not going to say I'm outright selling your data, but at the end of the day, that's what's happening, okay? I already talked about the phone in your hand connecting to the appliances in your house. Those are potentially dangerous. I can tell particularly anything that comes from China, but is potentially malicious. We can't avoid it. China is the manufacturing capital of the world. It's the dirty.
Armando,
Yes.
Armando,
Yes.
got a little time check. We're a little over time here, so but you're on such a good roll, and I think everything you're saying is
Yeah. So I'm going to skip through some of the slides.
Well, let me just do this because
Yeah.
we've got it's 7:13, and actually we normally break at 7:15.
Gotcha.
We get ready for the next one, but I wanted to stop to see if anybody had any questions.
Okay.
So we'll run a little bit over here. I want to stop at 7:20. So if anybody needs to take a a human break, if you will, know what I mean, that they'll be able to do that before the next session. So we'll take the screen down for right now, and then let's just see if we get any questions we need to answer. And while you're taking the screen down, I wanted to mention something real quick. I just got a text that says Space Coast, which is Space Coast Credit Union, has issued a new secure message for your account. Please review the details and ensure timely reply at sccu-support.org, Space Coast Credit Union. Now, I'm not a Space Coast Credit Union member.
You know, and I'm not talking about
Okay.
people like our age. They could be a little bit younger, but I'm like, what did you just write?
Hey, could someone mute?
Like, you trying to make a point here, and you need to make a period.
Can you somebody can mute their phone, please? Thank you. All right. So I was just saying, I just thought it was quite interesting. I got a cybersecurity threat here while you were talking.
Yeah, it's very, very common, particularly during the holidays. The holidays are the most active times. Any major U.S. holiday is when China and North Korea uses these attacks, crypto mining, stealing money to, they're the hermit kingdom, right? But believe it or not, they make a ton of money off cyber. They've become really good. China has taught them, and they become very good. So in our business, we call it RIC, even though we now have North Korea. RIC stands for Russia, Iran, and China, but we now can add North Korea, to the major threat actors in the cyber world. And even India, a lot of the artificial intelligence threats, whaling and phishing and social engineering attacks are coming out of India, where people that are using Indian proxies. India has a very educated society, and they're people that need money, and they're being used as a proxy to push out these artificial intelligence scams out to folks. I didn't see if anyone had any questions. I had one thing about free resources for entrepreneurs. I think I sent the slides to the events at ICABA, but the last slide has a number of resources and kinds of, that you can go out. 2 things I'll say as in closing is, have I been pawned? It's in my slide. It's HTTPS, have I been pawned, PWNED. If your password or your login is out on the dark web and you just put in your domain name or whatever, it'll tell you, yes, you put in your email, yes, this email is out there on the dark web being sold, or people, it's out there actively being, potentially exploited. I think it maybe even tell you if there's a password. There's a number of places that will do dark web searches for you, but Hive and Pond is free. I think they do have maybe something you can pay for. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, is another great resource. They're the nation's civilian threat. They're not U.S. Cyber Command, they're not FBI, but they're the ones that are responsible for protecting the nation and getting information out. They also have some good training as well. The FBI also has some good races. Don't call U.S. Cyber Command or NSA, or they're not going to help you. That's not their job. But and CISA may not, or may not have the time, but they have a lot of good resources. So I'll pause there.
Any questions from anyone? Just go ahead and unmute and raise your hand if you prefer. Okay. I think you have kind of wowed these folks here, Dwight and Armando. The skirt, I was gonna say the skirt S-less. Now they need to figure out how to go back and secure everything. Well, I'll tell you what, if anyone does it, if there's not anyone that has any questions, it's 7:17. And first of all, I want to thank Dwight and Armando for a fantastic presentation. Cybersecurity is real, guys. And no matter how small your business is, you can be attacked. I remember a ICABA member 4 years ago had his website hijacked for ransom. And, he never thought that small HR recruiting firm would be the subject, because you thought, that's the Fortune 1,500, 100 companies that they go after cyber or ransomware with. But
Two examples, Dwight, in Florida, Magic Leap. I think I can say that. I think it's a matter of public record. Magic Leap went through some changes. They had the goggles that were supposed to compete with Apple and Google. They didn't quite get there. Anyway, they almost went out of business. But while they were developing the goggles, they were at that time, they were the king of investment, venture capital. I think they raised a couple of $1 billion. They were the company that people put the most money into at one time prior to OpenAI. Anyway, they were at an event in Las Vegas, and a trade show. They had their booth, and across the way there was another booth. They noticed that across the other booth there was a set of these artificial intelligence, virtual reality goggles that looked kind of similar in design to theirs. So they went over and they looked. The next thing they noticed is that a former Chinese, and we typically in the business called PRC, People's Republic of China, because we don't have an issue with China, Chinese people, we have an issue with their government. Anyway, he had stolen the design to their goggles and took it back to China, and created a company with investment. So their intellectual property was taken. The last example is an aerospace company in Doral. They would sell refurbished airplane parts to the U.S. government, as well as partners of the U.S. government. An employee of theirs is the case that my son and I work on. I won't name the company, obviously. We were watching the network, and we noticed that an employee was taking all of the part numbers, all of the customers, and downloading and sending the data to a Dropbox, to a USB drive. Every day there was huge tranches of data. Obviously, we immediately alerted at the HR department and their internal security. They said, keep monitoring until we get to a certain threshold. And then it didn't take long. I think it was maybe 24, 48 hours. We locked everything down because we had software that allows us to stop everything from being downloaded. They called them in, and of course, this person was fired, and I think there's a prosecution going on. He was getting ready to go work for another company, and what he was doing was taking all of the data with his current employer and downloading it so he could leverage it at his new company. Same thing happened with Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale. There's a major case there where one of their salesmen went to go work for a competitive Ferrari dealer, stole the customer list from one of the partners. I think Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale has a partner in somewhere in New York or Jersey. And they detected that. They detected it after the fact, when they realized that their customers weren't responding to their, sales presentations, and all of a sudden they were buying cars from another Ferrari dealer. And it's like, wait a minute, there's a common thread here. These are our customers. What's going on? And then through some forensic investigations, they figured out that the salesman had downloaded the entire customer list before he went to go work for another dealer. So I close with that because I know we're over time. Thanks, Jerome and Sherry and everything for putting this together. This was amazing. Hopefully people got something out of it. And I'm out there on LinkedIn. Reach out to me. It's not hard to find me. Been out there for a while. You know, go out and look at some of my videos and keynote addresses. You know, I did a thing with Peter Thomas with ABC News on critical infrastructure, cyber, something we didn't get to. That ABC News footage is out there. Did some stuff with CNBC. So every once in a while, I get the honor of using my expertise on television or in a Washington Post or, you know, New York Times or whatever, when to talk about what's currently going on in the world. All right, guys, thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We're going to go ahead and take this break. We'll see you back at 7:30. Thank you, Dwight. And thank you for being here, Louis. We're going to catch you on the next one. All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.
See you at 7:30. Don't, when I say take care, don't leave. That kind of almost sounded a little bit ominous. We'll see you at 7:30. We'll just take a quick break. As they say years ago on radio, pause for the cause. All right. Thank you. Okay, so it's 7:30 now. I'm going to go ahead and bring us back on. And I'm going to share my screen so I can introduce our next two speakers. And so Calvin Brown, who is the founder of Kairu Consulting. He is a visionary tech entrepreneur and founder of Kairu Consulting, a groundbreaking technology company headquartered in Atlanta with additional offices in Los Angeles. An Atlanta transplant, Calvin developed a passion for technology from a young age and started his company, Kairu Consulting. In 2003, armed with nothing but a bold idea and unwavering determination, he founded Book My Stylist to disrupt the tech landscape and is the patent and trademark owner of the three-step checkout process used by Style, Seat, and Squire for online bookings. Through his innovative leadership and forward-thinking approach, he transformed the startup into a licensing model for millions of dollars quickly. Under Calvin's guidance, Book My Stylist birthed additional products like 1millionfreeapps.com, a unicorn company that has pioneered cutting-edge technologies that have reshaped entire industries. From artificial intelligence and machine learning to blockchain and cybersecurity, his companies remain at the forefront of innovation, driving progress, and pushing boundaries. Calvin's exceptional leadership and entrepreneurial prowess have earned him widespread recognition, and he is celebrated for his business acumen and his commitment to fostering a culture of creativity, inclusivity, and excellence within his organization. Despite his remarkable success, Calvin remains deeply rooted in his communities, and he mentors over 5,000 aspiring tech personalities and entrepreneurs and supports various charitable initiatives to empower underserved youth in tech. Our other panelist for this evening is Alex Oliveira, entrepreneur, author, and marketing expert, as well as dad. He's a transformative leader of multiple successful companies. He's Brazilian-born and has helped companies advance their brands by executing interactive marketing campaigns for over 12 years. From small, medium-sized businesses to Fortune 500 brands like Ford and Allstate, Alex enjoys a diverse portfolio of clients. Alex's major passions include advertising with his wife and 4 kids, investing in startups, and giving back to the community. His areas of expertise and the things that he also speaks on includes the failure successes as an entrepreneur, trends and proven tactics in lead generation, how customer experience can increase LTV, what type of content will give you the highest ROI, and the importance of giving back. Alex is smart and shares things in a way that people can understand and take action, and he's a great guest. And I can say that one of the reasons that Alex is here is because he came to speak to a class that I was in with the Jim Moran Global Entrepreneurship Institute, and I was just extremely impressed. And so I thank you that he's here. He's also working with our company, and we're excited to now we understand that we've got to make sure that we take care of some of the things that we need to do so that cybersecurity does not, if you will, take us out, so that we can learn the things that Calvin and that Alex are going to share with us. And then we're going to be able to have the money and keep it, because we know the risks that are out there. And now we're going to talk about the rewards. So who's going first, gentlemen?
Calvin, you want the floor? Sure. I'll go first.
Go for it.
All right. So thank you guys for being here. So the risk and rewards of the business, I think everybody can lean easily into the rewards, right? There are a lot of the times we see the rewards as money, but that is not the most immediate reward. The most immediate reward is that the innovation. I don't think we dig deep enough into the ideas of like a self-checkout, right? Which is a process that we built for one of our major grocers. It changes the way that people live. It changes the way that they are able to spend their time. It makes things a little bit more efficient at times. So the rewards come in different areas. One is it's economic growth, either for you or for other people. Again, the innovation itself, like you can actually change the way that people operate on a daily basis. And the connectivity is the third one, is that you become more connected to people around the world as you use technology, meaning we all probably use WhatsApp, things like that. That connects us globally in a way that we didn't previously have before. Now we have friends around the world who we talk to. If you're of my age group, then it used to cost money to call long distance. So that's not something you would have done before. And so that's the types of things that I like people to lean into when they talk about innovation. I'm sorry, when they talk about the rewards of tech, it's not just money. You actually do, tech does change the way that people operate. A Tesla self-driving is a form of technology. That is a form of innovation. That has nothing to do with money, but it changes the way people see cars. It changes the way people who are born during that generation see possibilities. So it definitely helps to shape our society. On the risk side, as a person who's taken quite a few, there are way more than there are rewards. The risk is most of the times we're tapping into things that are not regulated. So it becomes regulated afterwards, meaning software that drives a train. There's no speed limit until you find one. Those are the types of things that create the risk side of things. There's privacy. We deal with all types of data all the time. We don't really read the data, but we do have access to it. All of those socials and phone numbers and all that stuff exists in databases somewhere. And so privacy is a major concern as we all give away data every time we register for a site or something like that. So our risk is way larger. Like some cool app is great, Snapchat or whatever, but you put in thousands of pictures in there, which can be used to create avatars for AI to be used to create impersonations of people. And so that's the downsides of, or the risks, I should call it, of the technology itself. Another is job displacement. You hear everybody talking about AI and all of the things that it will do. Most of that's just hype, but there are a lot of rudimentary jobs, flipping burgers, things like that, that they've gotten down to a science. Technology will replace those things simply because it's done the same way every time. It has nothing to do with the technology. It's just that they've refined the process over time. And so that's just the nature of things. I mean, people no longer, there's no longer a thing outside for you to hook your horse to. The person who built those stands went out of business at some point just because they did not exist. So as we talk about risk, we have to look at innovation brings about displacing someone out of their job. So we have to be very careful about what we build as innovation because there are risks there. And then, of course, one of the previous gentlemen talked about cybersecurity. That data and that access to very important things, sometimes centralized water systems, centralized power systems, those are all accessible through software. And there's a obvious risk there that most people don't think about. Our power grids and all that are definitely powered by software systems that are built by people. And they're most of the time they're pretty vulnerable. They're pretty old systems that rarely get updated. And the final point that I'll make out of the four, because we had job displacement, cybersecurity, privacy concerns, but the final one is digital divide. We speak a different language. When you're kind of hip to tech, you speak a totally different language than the people who don't. It seems like a whole different world. And it's harder to communicate. I had a relative have a car wreck recently, and he wanted to get a copy of his what do you call it, the paper deed, the title. And he was like, yeah, I might have to go to New York and get my title. And it's like, you don't have to go anywhere to get a title. That's it. They don't have the actual piece of paper. They just got to make a digital copy of it and send it to you. And he just couldn't quite grasp. He's over 50, but he couldn't quite grasp the concept until they told him they just FedEx him a copy of it. And so the digital divide in tech is real. And so we have to make sure that we close those gaps because it creates a risk of having a fracture in society, meaning the haves and the have-nots, people who have access to information and who don't. If you're a history buff like I am, you remember the Dark Ages, things like that. Those are people who had access to information. So it is a huge risk by digitizing everything and not keeping some of the existing systems like libraries that people need to have access to perform research. So again, there's three major rewards. One's obviously you have innovation, the global connectivity that I talked about, and of course your economic growth. There's just money in it, but there's more on the reward side that we should pay more attention. I'm sorry, on the risk side that we should pay attention to, which are definite privacy concerns, cybersecurity, job displacement, as well as the digital divide between citizens. So I'll slow down there. I'll ask people that have questions or, get more deep into any one point that I made if something didn't make sense.
Well, Calvin, can you talk a little bit on any one of these kind of areas? We're looking at being able to generate revenue from technology using automation, e-commerce, online business models. Obviously, you've created an app that helped to kind of revolutionize appointment setting in a couple of industries, and how technology can be leveraged in order to either increase accessibility, productivity that drives revenue, or just something that it does to drive revenue specifically.
Yeah, I always tell people when they talk about making money using software, I always tell people that everything that we do in software used to be done manually. So a database lookup is nothing different than someone going to a file cabinet, if you're old enough to know what that is, taking out it, looking for Smith or whoever you're looking for, and taking the information from that file and moving it to, or copying it to some other form. That's the same thing we do in a database lookup. So when you're talking about software like an appointment booking, all it's doing is doing the job of someone who used to call and say, hey, do you have anything available on Friday? That sort of thing. It's just able to be repeated for more people. And so since we're charging for that, we're able to make money on it. So you're able to replicate, or you're able to duplicate yourself without having to have multiple people do the same job. A lot of this stuff is very redundant. It does not do the special favor stuff for the person who doesn't really need an appointment. It doesn't do those things. That's where I talk about the digital divide. Is life is still life. People still have privileges, but the software can do a lot of the everyday stuff. And in order to make money, you need to automate redundant stuff. If you do the same thing at the same time every day, there should be a way to automate that. That's how you make money. Is you get away from the tasks that don't have as much impact, but they're necessary, and you only do the ones that require the real thinking or the real customer interaction. That's where the money is made. And we can take any business at any time, and I can take those redundant parts and you can turn it into software. That's where the real money is made in software. And that just came because I used some of my tech money to buy barbershops. And I thought it was a pretty lame and old, antiquated business. And I wanted people to make appointments and pay up front, so I didn't have to ask for booth rent from my people. So it solved that problem. But then I realized it didn't exist at the time. And so I licensed it out, which, most people have used one of those products who make an appointment online. They've used most of those products, which it just didn't exist. So I was able to make and still make money off of that one idea, but it's just automating something that should have been done anyway. But that used to be people's job, like a dispatcher. That used to be a job, but we do that in an automated fashion now. So you have to be very careful about displacing people. But software is a way to 3000x your revenue if you replace the parts that you don't really need real thought to go into.
Well, what would you recommend to people who are looking at their business and trying to think about how they can leverage technology to increase revenue or create new revenue streams?
Always look at your intake process. Your intake process is either, and I think all of us know this, right? How you intake people, how you interact with people up front, the smoother that is, the more people perceive your business as efficient, the kind of company they want to do business with. If you think about it, customer service is terrible on the back end, but most large companies have an amazing way for you to do business with them up front. You can fill out some form online or whatever it is. They can get your information fast. That's what every business should do, is become your own customer, consume your product. How do I get it? What's the fastest way to get it? And then automate that as much as you can, and then put that human touch on it. That is how companies are able to lure people in. And then in the back end, you call and they're like, we only open from 1 to 3 every day for calls or whatever. They don't really care about you after you're a customer, but they definitely automate the part of bringing customers in. So I would say that's the way to go, is detail out the process of someone becoming a customer and make that as smooth as possible. That's your cash cow, really, because without customers, you don't really have a business.
Yeah. Any questions from anybody in the audience? Okay.
You got all the smart people.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case today. So, well, let's go ahead and bring in Alex, and I have a suspicion that we'll have some more questions a little bit later on as well. So, Alex, I'm going to bring you up, and
I'm up. You can hear me, right?
there you are.
All right, fantastic. Well, first and foremost, thank you, Hutch and Sherry, the team there, for having this series. I think it's so important, especially here right before we finish off Q1 in the year and get everybody fired up about 2024. I also want to give a shout out to Sharif, who's on here from Push Bio. He's a member, but also a co-founder with me on another app. And I posted the link to not my presentation, but my bio link page. So all the stuff that I'm going to touch on today, you can find for free on that link that I just gave you. You don't have to give me an email. You'll just be able to download my free course and a bunch of other stuff that I'll touch on today. So with that being said, I'm going to touch on a really 4 subjects here as a both marketer and entrepreneur. I'll touch on online business models. I'll touch on the business of e-commerce, a little bit of automation, although Calvin already did that. And then I'll touch on my big superpower. My big superpower is online lead generation, and for my kids who are aspiring to be, artists and do kind of like really cool and sexy things, I always tell them, I do lead generation. It's not that sexy, but it is, in a sense that it'll in the last So I started in 2009. So we're talking 15 years that I have generated more than 24 million leads for thousands of customers. It's just been incredible. And it's not just me. I've had a great team of people. So all of us as entrepreneurs know that we can only do these things if you have great people. And I've been lucky to have a lot of great people around me. All right, online business models. A few that I want to touch on today is, talk about memberships, which clearly ICABA is a membership-based business model. We talk about marketplaces. I have a lot of experience in marketplaces because I started in affiliate marketing. So the reality is, if you have a 2-sided marketplace, if it's, let's say, like Angie's List, which today is called Angie, and you have the homeowners and you have the contractors, right? And this goes for every industry. There's always 2 sides. And then the platform is the one that sits in the middle. These are called marketplaces. The way all those marketplaces were able to grow is by either getting people to create content so they can entertain their users, or capture their data and kind of match the 2 together, and then they monetize that data. That's how basically marketplaces work. They have a lot of data. And I know Armando was talking about, cybersecurity and all the threats, as well as Calvin talking about the risks. There's huge risks there. But if you look at the Fortune 500 brands, the way that they scale is through affiliate marketing, and it's through partnering with influencers. Brands like Nike and Disney, they do it the same way. They have thousands and thousands of people who push traffic to their site. And it's really difficult to get to that level because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters there is budget. Do you have the budget to buy the traffic, to drive leads and sales for the buyer side, right? And so you really need to understand the audience. And if you are trying to still decide on what your business model is online, which is sometimes different than what you do in day-to-day business, or how you position yourself, your brand, your voice, do you take payments online? For example, in my company, Lead Gen, for probably the first 6-7 years, we didn't allow the customer to create their own proposal and make a payment online. We would do everything still kind of manually, where, okay, you need a proposal, we're going to draft it for you, we're going to email it over, and then you will, either wire or ACH a payment. Today, everything is just done like e-commerce, where you choose the service that you're looking for. You have lots of options to customize it, and then you make the payment. And I think Calvin did a great job talking about, really figuring out how you can shorten that process, that customer journey. I'm thinking of, even over the weekend, I went out with my mom, my wife, kids, sister. We all went out to Benihana. Benihana is one of those restaurants where you kind of sit with everybody. And at the end of the meal, there's a couple people splitting checks, whatnot, and we had our check together. And then my mom looks over to the waiter and she says, because he brought over Clover, which is one of the payment systems like Square and many others. So he brings that over and hands it to us. And my mom says, "Oh, this is great. It's so easy." And the waiter just kind of laughed because he said, "Man, I never thought I'd see the day people are so happy to part with their money." But it's not about parting with the money. It's kind of like what Calvin said. It's the fact that you made it easier for someone. Someone doesn't have to walk away with your credit card in the back and potentially expose you to a risk, because they could take a picture of the credit card, the front, the back, whatnot. Now the credit card never leaves your presence. That never would have happened had it not been for COVID. And I say that in the US because the reality is, in countries like Brazil, you can go there 10, 15 years ago, people were not giving you a credit card to walk away with. It's always been the case that the waiter would come to you and you insert the credit card and pull it out. But the US was so behind on that. And sometimes I think a lot of us in business think, man, the US is ahead and stuff, but they're really not always. And in this case, they weren't. So your online business, whatever the business model is, you have to think about that process, the system. And as Calvin said, you make it systematic so that it can happen every time. Because if you can do that over and over and over, then you can actually scale the business, like an Amazon store, for example, right? And so for me, I do a lot of content. I create podcasts and things like that, but it's not for it to go viral. It's to connect with very specific key decision makers. So it's not about volume, it's just about reaching the right people. And I often go to them and ask them, where are you hanging out? Is it Spotify? Is it Apple? Are you on Discord? Are you on TikTok? And I know my demographics and kind of where they are, but I don't let that cloud my judgment. I want to ask them. So I think, look, the takeaway for online businesses is for you to talk to your customers or potential customers and ask that question. Where do you hang out? Where do you spend the most time? And every time I go speak at a college, I am surprised at what today's, Gen Z, the ones who are graduating now, 21, 22, what they say. Every semester when I go to speak at the university, that is a survey I'll give. I'll say, where do you spend most of your time if you're on your smartphone? And every year it changes. They might be on an app, ESPN, or it's Spotify or TikTok or Instagram, and it changes. It changes. So we can't just generalize everything and think that we know what's going on. You got to talk to your customer and figure out what that is. And consistency is definitely the key. Now, in terms of e-commerce, the two biggest names that are going to come up if you are trying to sell a product. So that's a product, right? Like you see these platforms like Temu. The two biggest names here in the US is going to be Amazon and Shopify. If you're building a shop where you're selling products and shipping it, no doubt Shopify is going to be the #1 content management system. And I would say if you were trying to sell as a third-party seller, Amazon is the top one. And I have a lot of experience on both of those platforms. I've taken clients from selling $200,000 in product to $3 million in a period of a few years. And so you ask, well, how did that happen? It wasn't just that the product was great, believe me. It's the fact that you have to run the ads, you have to create content, and you have to create a great experience, right? And the companies and the leaders who want to take that risk, which is sort of what Calvin was saying, you know, talking about risk. If you don't take those risks to intelligently run those ads to reach those people, you're not going to get there. And it's truly what holds a lot of businesses back. Perhaps they've worked with 1 or 2 or 3 marketers or agencies and it didn't work. And they're thinking, gosh, you know, this stuff, it doesn't work for me. But it does. I mean, when you look at companies like Peloton, you know, Peloton for many years, and even during COVID, you can look this up, Peloton spent more than half their revenue, more than half the revenue on marketing. That's incredible, right? Because if you were going to ask an MBA what you should spend on marketing, they're going to tell you 5 to 10% max. But you had companies in the past like Salesforce, like Dell, and others who understood that if they wanted to dominate their market, they were going to spend 30, 40, 50% of their revenue on marketing. And you do it intelligently. You want to have the best people there, right? So e-commerce is an interesting one. If you're trying to get into Amazon, I have lots of resources into the link that I posted for you. I love e-commerce. I think it's a great way for people to grow businesses by doing drop shipping. But the key there is advertising, reviews, and great product delivery, right? If you're doing Amazon, for example, you are not going to succeed if you don't do FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon instead of fulfilled by merchant. If you think that you're going to succeed selling products on Amazon, shipping it from your home or business, it won't work. The reason why Amazon is so good at selling on behalf of third parties is because they have these big logistical centers that they are able to ship things out quickly. So if you're selling on e-commerce, no doubt Amazon is going to be a choice. It's not my favorite way to grow a business, but it works. All right, the third one is automation to improve the customer journey, because automation isn't really about replacing the human touch. All the speakers here talked a little bit about AI. And I think people are mistaken about AI at this point. It truly is about enhancing the customer experience. And when I talk to my staff, when I talk to my partners, anyone that I'm talking to that we're using AI, it's not as if now that we have AI and we could do tasks that used to take 10 hours, takes 1 hour. I know over the weekend, Hutch hosted several speakers that talked about AI, but it's not as if you're going to have now extra time to sit around and do nothing. What it means is that you can deliver more. If you are an educator, my wife and I, we homeschool our kids, right? So we're very like high touch with them and the teachers that work with them. Look, AI plays a big part because for teachers, think about this. It's not only the tutoring for kids who would not otherwise be able to have that tutoring, but it's also for the teachers, the ability of using AI to correct papers. I know as a teacher that I am better off spending time one-on-one with the student than I am correcting a paper, because the AI can correct the paper and give them better feedback than I could. And the same thing happens in business with this automation and AI. Most of us aren't data scientists. And if you're doing e-commerce, if you're doing online business, automation, you're going to want to extract that data, use a product like Google Analytics or Looker Studio, and take that data and be able to crunch on it in a way that you can easily understand and then optimize accordingly. AI does that in a beautiful way. You can take tables, put it into there. I've tested with, Gemini, Anthropic, Claude from Anthropic, and then of course, ChatGPT. So test it out. I mean, it's something that to me is a no-brainer in terms of how you can scale with automation. Probably the biggest opportunity other than copy and content and data is going to be email marketing. And I unfortunately, I say unfortunately because we're already seeing a lot of the bad actors take advantage of these messages. And I think all of us feel it. We're getting more and more bombarded with these emails because they can do it at scale and do all kinds of IP spoofing, and they're setting up servers somewhere in Bermuda. So it's both good and bad. But I think for you to connect with your clients and create sequences of emails that enhance that process, enhance the customer experience. For example, you fill out a form online. Most websites that you fill out a form or become a member of that community, they might just send you an email that says, thank you, and we'll follow up with you within 48 hours. This is an opportunity right from the beginning for you to talk to that customer and have a conversation about, look, this is how we work, and here are the steps that you can expect in the coming days. Here are some helpful links. Here's a helpful guide. Here's a demo. Here's our 800 number. You want to communicate with them. So automation and AI, it can create more content for you, but it can also help you personalize. If last year was the year of AI, this year, in my opinion, as a marketer, it's the year of personalizing AI. So you take that AI and you personalize it. What you don't do is create copy and just put it out there without the human touch. You have to have the human touch every step of the way. And so what it's going to do is just going to make you more productive, but it's not replacing anything. And of course, there's the wars between OpenAI and Google. Will OpenAI replace Google search? I don't think so anytime soon. There are things that you can do on Google that you're not going to be able to do on OpenAI. OpenAI, by the way, has gone a different route. They're charging you $20 for their premium product, or it's free if you're using ChatGPT 3.5. But let's just say if you're paying $20, you're paying $20 to get a similar experience that you do on Google, but without the ads. And that is where I think OpenAI will be able to capitalize on users like myself, who I can't, even though I'm in the marketing and advertising world, if I'm searching for something important, like, education for my kids, if I'm searching for, something that is important, Calvin mentioned he's a history buff. If I want to read about history and I want to get my hands on a book and summarize it, I'm going to use AI. I'm not going to go to Google. Why? Because everyone who's used Google for the last 20 years know that it's all about monetization. The website that comes up on page one with SEO is not necessarily the website that has the best data. It's the website that's been able to manipulate the algorithm the best way. So I believe that OpenAI will not replace search, but what it'll do is it'll just move people out of there who don't like ads. And I prefer to pay the $20 a month. And of course, we'll see in the end who ends up winning that war. But Google at this point is nowhere near coming close to OpenAI in terms of the downloads. As a matter of fact, like 78% of the downloads for between the top 4 AI bots last February. This was February. The top 4 bots, ChatGPT took 78%. And Microsoft was the second closest. So again, they're definitely in the forefront in terms of that. And if you are a business owner, if you're a marketing leader, you need to be using these tools. You need to be working with your teams, but understand the risks, as Calvin said, and of course, understand the threats. Having guidelines is absolutely important. So if you didn't watch the episode on the weekend here with Hutch, he had an incredible team talking about AI. I loved every moment of it. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about is my superpower, online lead generation. Lead generation is really all about generating prospects so that you can turn them into customers and then keep them coming back, and hopefully have them refer more people to you so that you can grow your business. And there isn't a magic formula, so to speak. I do have a system that I created. I also wrote a book a few years ago, and I put my system there. There's a million systems out there. There's no, there's no need to say one is better than the other. It's just a matter of which one works best for that industry, or perhaps B2B versus B2C. And lead generation comes in a lot of different ways. Clearly, if you're doing lead generation offline, just by networking, even in a way of a series like Jumpstart here is a great way for you to generate leads, because even if you're not presenting here and you can network with the other attendees or members of ICABA, it's a great way for you to generate leads, but also provide leads for people. This is something that Hutch does very well. This is something that I really pride myself in doing, is connecting people, taking time out every week to make sure I send the people that I know and like, send them leads. Even if they're in my same industry, you want to make sure that you're growing together. So look, if you're a brand today, what you need to understand, even if you're a small business, the consumer, i.e. all of us, we want a frictionless experience, whether it's e-commerce, a marketplace, or anything. We want frictionless. We want things to be easy, like Amazon. I want to be able to click buy now, get the email, get it delivered. And as my mom said, I just want to give you the money. It's easy and it's enjoyable. That's really what people are looking for. And for you to keep your brand top of mind, you still are going to need to do the SEO activities. You're going to need to do email marketing. You're going to need to do social media, influencer marketing, and paid ads. Those channels are always going to exist, and it's likely that your competitors are there. So you clearly need to be there as well. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have questions, I'm sticking around, but make sure you look at the link that I put in the chat here, because I've got a lot of free goodies there for you guys.
Thank you, Alex. I clicked on it 3 times and it's not opening your link. I don't know. It keeps telling me. So I don't know if it is.
I just opened it. It opened for me. How about for you, Hutch?
Yeah, I'm clicking on it right now. The push bio link, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. I see the URL in my window, but nothing's actually happening. But it looks like it's working, but it's definitely moving a little slow. So
Oh, hey, Sharif, if you're there, can you check it out for me?
Yeah, this is Armando. I just tried it. It opened up. It could be people's
It's
browser.
open, yeah, it's working.
Oh,
It's
All right.
working.
let me ask you a question. I see push B-IO. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I said dash. I meant
Yeah.
dot.
So that's the side of the app where we host all of the bio links instead of the pushbio.io.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be sure that.
No, that's all right. No worries. But and that's also one of those tools online. And I'm gonna shamelessly promote the app here right now, because it's just one of those things where tonight I knew I was coming on here. Within minutes, I was able to craft this specific to the audience here and put up all my content, podcasts, books, courses, everything that I want to give away to the audience. And I'm able to do that very quickly without having to ask my web team to go create landing pages, right? And that's kind of the point of the app, after all, is to be able to share all your most important things in one place.
Okay. I am running into the same issue that I think it was Angelina was running into. But in fact, it timed out on the Chrome.
I was
Okay.
able to open it, Jeff. I was able to open it.
Okay.
It worked for me. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
A lot of resources here, Alex. Thank you. I mean, good information, good resources.
Yeah, man, it's 15 years and just one link like that. Crazy.
Look, you got people on the web charging like $39 a month
No.
or $3,000 for a course to kind of get this information. So I appreciate it. Good information.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the web is just crazy, man. I see people charging for stuff that I'm like, man, you could get that for free all day. It's just it's got to be reliable. Like I tell my kids every time they come to me and say, "Oh, I just saw this on," I say, "Stop, stop. Who posted that? Who is this person? Is this person, a terrorist? Like, who are they? I want to see their LinkedIn. I want to see their credit report. No, I'm just kidding. I want to see the credit report. But as even adults, I gave us a talk the other day at a school, and I said, it's not really the kids, it's the adults. We also fall into that trap online in the world of the online business where you see someone's information and links, and they could easily dress it up and make it into something that is bigger than what it is. And then you're sitting there consuming their content. Meanwhile, they're not even credible or accredited to do that thing.
Yeah, the world of ebooks, right? The world of ebooks where everybody think, they can make $1 million selling the ebook and they don't really have the expertise to do so.
Well, to your point, I have a good friend of mine, and he said, I want to write a book, but I want to do it with Chat GPT, And I said, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'll tell you what, when I went to write my book at the beginning of COVID in 2020, I did hire a ghostwriter, and after about, I don't know, 10, 12,000 words that we collaborated on and using some AI. At the time we were using what's called Jarvis, but now it's Jasper. I felt like, man, this is going to be the worst book. It just sounds horrible. So I fired the AI and I fired the ghostwriter. I paid him his full amount. And I said, I'm off to the races. I'm going to do it myself. It needs to be my voice. So I don't think there's a replacement for human. Like, it's kind of like this meeting that we're having here. Could you imagine, Hutch, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you saying, I'm going to host a Jumpstart entrepreneur and all the speakers are going to be AI? No, nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. There's no emotion,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. I mean, I think the humanity is our last best hope.
No doubt.
For engagement and interaction and authenticity and genuineness and, connections and collaborations. There's some things that just still takes a beating heart.
I agree with you.
Denise, go right ahead.
Yes. Great speakers. Everything was fantastic. I really enjoyed this. But I have a specific question for Alex. I guess I missed you because I was in Chuck's class.
Yeah.
Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, I guess I missed that class. I can't remember you coming to JMI. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I think I missed that class. Anyway, the question that I have is, my business is a charter business. I have 2 vessels. There's dinner cruise, and we do weddings, bar mitzvahs, birthday parties, corporate events. The question that I have for you, I mean, we're talking about marketing, and you're saying that we probably need to do a lot more with marketing. I have my website that I have SEO on. I do paid advertising. I want to take this to the next level, and I am not quite sure what to do. There's so much to do out there, and it's, what do I do? I like the thought of using AI to actually come up with a process to say, okay, let the customer book online, but their competition is out there and they're looking at what you're doing, and that, you can be outbidded that way. So I'm not quite sure if that strategy would work for me. So I'm just trying to figure out, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah. So Denise, I think here's the truth that most marketers don't want to broadcast out to the world. The fact is that a lot of what marketers do is testing.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. But no, most marketers don't want to admit that because the client would say, so you want to test on my money? Like, no, but it's no different than a stockbroker, right? A financial planner, a realtor, like every other profession out there. You put your trust into someone, and sometimes it works phenomenal, and other times, And you see this even at the highest level of branding. I've worked with some big brands where they spent millions of dollars on an ad campaign, TV, like mass media, radio, the whole nine, and it falls flat. And everybody's sitting there and going, what happened? So like even the most recent one, I don't know if you guys saw what this was like 3 months ago, where Snoop Dogg did a campaign with it's like one of those fire pit companies. And he said, I'm quitting smoking, right? And when he said he was quitting smoking, it generated tens of millions of clicks to the website because it was very like viral, right? The CEO of the company was then fired 3 months later because even though Snoop Dogg brought all that traffic and brand equity to the company, it didn't result in sales at all.
Wow.
So what's my point? Whether it's me or some other marketer that's written 10 books, believe me, you're going to get it more wrong than you get it right, because the fact is you need to try a lot of different things, and not everything works for everybody. I'll give you an example. I have a restaurant client in St. Pete, Florida, doing phenomenal with Open Table, right? Open Table being one of those marketplaces. Then I have another client in Atlanta, a restaurant client. Open Table didn't work for them. So Facebook and Instagram was working way better for them. So there are no two that are alike, because you're in different markets, there's different things. And in your industry, I can tell you probably the two lowest cost per acquisition, and I do recommend for anyone doing marketing, is that you go with the channel that is going to cost you the least upfront. Like SEO costs you the most because it's always long-term. A lot of content, a lot of technical stuff. But in your industry, like a charter, I would say do a Facebook lead ad campaign. I'm going to bet that you generate leads on Facebook at the cost of $10 to $15 cost per lead. That means not a click to your website, but a full form, first name, last name, email, phone number, right? Someone that is interested in hiring your charter. So I'd go with Facebook, Instagram. They're still lower by far compared to all the other paid ad platforms. Why? Because they have over 2 billion users, and they have the most data. And the second approach is to then take those leads and put it into an email campaign that is going out every week. The email campaign, like SEO, can take months to really make it work. But those are the two strategies that I would recommend for you, Denise.
All right. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Next question. Well, I guess we're going to get to go home a little early tonight.
There you go. Thank you, guys.
I think somebody's light just went on, so I don't know if somebody was turning on to ask a question or not. But, you know, Calvin and Alex, I really want to thank you guys. Also to Dwight and Armando. But gentlemen, you've been fantastic. The information that you've imparted and left for everybody is really important. I'm going to leave up the chat so you can get that push bio. I was still having problems with it, but obviously some other people worked okay. So I'm not sure what the issue is. I know Angelina, she was having some issues.
And Devon Bruce said as well, I'm not sure why I can open it. And I tried many times. So what's the next? And I think it was posted twice, but none of the links work.
Yeah.
I just copied and pasted in my web browser and it worked.
No, I did that. I did that too and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I'll post my email here, guys. And if any one of you want to reach out, I can send you those links in an email and you can download it from there.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And enjoy the rest of your evening. And I will see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Calvin,
thank you,
Alex, thank you again.
Thank you.
Level up your success with the ICABA World Network, where accomplished Black professionals and entrepreneurs have created a thriving global ecosystem built from valuable connections and impactful collaborations. Be a part of a trusted network that uplifts, inspires, and enhances your success. Join like-minded and leading Black professionals to foster meaningful relationships, unlock opportunities, and access the resources you need to thrive in your career, business, and life. Go to ICABAworldnetwork.com and join today.